Productivity. How do you know if you're running a productive salon, and how do you know if you're maximizing your time and being as productive as possible? Hi, I'm Kayla, and I am your host of the Profitable Salon Owner podcast. And hanging out with me today is the beautiful Jade Green. Hi, Jade. How are you?
Hey, Kayla. Absolutely loving getting to hang out with you today.
No kidding. I know we were hanging out before this, and it was just fun just getting to know you a little bit. I mean, I've never really talked to you one-on-one, so it's so fun to hang out. And yes, to you listening, I have brought on an Australian person for your ears to mask in the accent of an Australian. So you're welcome already preemptively. I know I'm going to be hanging out. It's really excited. So Jade, tell me a little bit about yourself, because I know not everybody's going to know who you are. So give me a synopsis of share with our audience of who are you?
Where do we start? I love to usually start this story with I'm the from trailer and trauma to triumph story.
Oh,
so
I love that.
Literally grew up in a little trailer park until I was 9 years old. Then I lived in a trailer at the back of the house for a while. And now I get to travel the globe, working with some of the best in multiple industries. I've been blessed to, run business accelerators in Bali. Poor me, I had to live in a resort in Bali. And
I
know,
Rough
it was
life.
so tough. I went to do this business course because I was like, okay, I'm looking to transition. I did 13 years in headhunting and recruitment. Before that, I had a modeling and promotional agency as my first couple of businesses and a dressmaking business.
Yeah.
And then I was like, okay, I want to get out of wearing a pinstripe suit. I want to get back to wearing a swimsuit and a wetsuit. I'm going to go and do this business course in Bali. And then apparently I just coached everyone while I was there. And they're like, hey, do you want to come and be a facilitator? I was like, what does that look like?
Wow.
They're like, well, we'll fly you to Bali. You can live in the resort and you get to talk the stuff that you love, teaching business, to people from all over the globe. And I'm like, sounds terrible.
Wow.
Sign me up.
I don't know how I can manage that.
I just don't know how I'll deal with that. And then I was like, okay, I love this business side of things, but I really feel called to the spirituality side of stuff and really understanding our consciousness and the bigger picture. And so I'd read a book called The Code of the Extraordinary Mind by a guy named Vishen Lakhiani, who founded Mind Valley. I'm like, I'm going to fly to Kuala Lumpur, which is their head office, and convince them to license me in Australia so I can take this teachings back to companies and business owners so they can build better teams and happier, more productive workplaces. And so I'm going to combine the business stuff with the spirituality stuff, and then that's going to happen. Everyone looked at me like, do you know who he is? You're crazy. The short version is I didn't fly to Kuala Lumpur. It happened that they were having a 1-month university in Barcelona. So I flew there instead. And voila, I became one of the only 42 master certified trainers in that work around the world, and started working with Mind Valley as well. So that kind of got this journey going and down the rabbit hole of where I am now. But the last couple of years, Kayla, I think what's going to be more exciting for your audience right now, based on the topic we're talking about, is through Mind Valley, through this stuff, I found a guy named Stephen Kotler, who's written a number of books on peak performance and flow state specifically, and how flow state makes us instrumentally and incrementally, exponentially drive our performance and productivity. So I've spent the last 3 years studying with them on the neuroscience, neurobiology, psychology, and biology of flow state, which drives peak performance and productivity. So,
wow.
I think
that's incredible.
Does that bring us to, does that answer the question?
It does. It helps me really understand where you've come from, and then what you're pursuing, and what really having studied so much on that, I'm really excited to have you. So thank you for joining us today. And hopefully if you're listening, you're excited to hear kind of some of that, how the last 3 years have just brought us to, we're going to spend the next 30 minutes talking about productivity and teams and all that stuff for your salon. So before we kind of jump into it, I'd love to know, because productivity, there's so many words that are defined many different ways, and I know success, Jason, who's been on before, talked about success success is determined on your perception. So success for some people is getting out of bed. Success for other people is reaching $1 million. So I want to take that concept and apply it to productivity. And is productivity universal, or is it really defined by what defines productivity for a human being?
Oh, great question. My gut answer is, it's universal. Because you either, I don't know how we're allowed to cuss on here, get shit done or you don't, right?
Yeah, you're either doing it or you're not.
Either do the stuff or you don't do the stuff. But people's appetite and the run rate that they have and how long they can dedicate is individual. However, it can be trained, because some people burn out more because depending on what other life stresses they've got going on, cognitive load, ability to process, the energy, the food you eat, the way you take care of your body, all contributes to your ability to use your brain power. And this is where a lot of people don't realize. They think, oh, if I just get better at this one thing, but you cannot be in peak performance and peak productivity if you are not looking after your physical health and the food, like garbage in, garbage out. Like if you are not giving your body high performance fuel, you're not going to have the energy to drive your brain. The brain chews so much energy. So you've got to really think about how are you optimizing your system to be able to focus and to be able to do the energy, and how are you lowering your cognitive load to be able to actually apply yourself. And then I'll kind of segue to one of the other biggest problems we have with productivity is everyone's getting tarred with the ADHD brush. Now, my psych said I have a cracking case of ADHD. And I'm like, nice. On the medical scale, where's cracking? Like middle of the road, top of the road. And he's like, don't worry, you wouldn't have achieved everything you've achieved without it. And I'm like, okay, good. But,
that's good news.
Okay, good, great. But this is part of my study around this, is so I can manage that. But so a lot of people are getting tarred that way is they don't actually have real the chemical imbalance, the brain psychological side of ADHD. They have ADT, attention deficit trait, which is driven, and ADHD is also stimulated by it and managed by this as well, is purely driven by our environment. Bright colors, loud sounds, addictive things that are spiking our dopamine, distraction. So think Facebook, Instagram, back in the day, Candy Crush, like any of the video games, TV shows, everything that's designed with bright colors, loud noises, or have a psychologist behind it going, how do we make this thing more addictive to humans?
Yeah.
Is causing you to fry out and tanks your productivity. So why I say it's universal is if you learn how to manage all of that and you understand all of that, then and you look after your physical and mental health, then you optimize yourself for productivity, and then that can be universal. But we've got to get everyone onto the level playing field first.
Wow. Yeah.
So
I can imagine like that's yeah, exactly. I was like thinking like, man, I can imagine people are listening and be like, okay, that sounds really, really great. Here I am at this level, probably not eating right. Or I know like, I feel like a lot of people know that, you know whether you're eating right or not, or whether you're filling your body and protecting your body from the environment. And so how does one begin to take those action steps? Like, yes, I know I want to be more productive. You're saying this is how. Where do people start? If they're at ground zero, where do they start to begin?
Yeah. Self-awareness and really paying attention to yourself. So when I start working with clients, I go, okay, food, for instance, just take a journal. Like, you know how people get 3:30itis usually in corporate world, but it's usually because you've eaten something for lunch and then you're crashing, like you're like, crashing in the afternoon. If you actually start to monitor that, you can go, what food did I eat? Where's my body in the processing system? And that's tanking me. And so you can start to figure out what food gives you energy and what food crashes you. Or like if you're on high sugar, you go bang, like, oh, I'm going to have a Coca-Cola because I need to get this done. And then 2 hours later, you're like, I crashed. Right? I don't know what happened. Maybe I'm tired. No, you sugar crashed. Right? So it's starting to understand that and how you can level that stuff out. So paying attention to how you feel after you've had certain things. So keeping like just a journal like that. Okay, I ate that. Like 2 weeks ago, I'm like, oh my God, I don't know why I'm so tired. I'm always the Energizer Bunny. And all I had was one of those stupid salads, like the food that the food eats. Like that's why I'm like, this is why I don't eat the food that the food eats, because it makes me feel like shit. And then I was like, 2 weeks later, had this massive realization. I'm like, oh, it had turkey in it. Turkey has tryptophan. Turkey makes you go to sleep.
Oh,
Don't
wow.
eat turkey at lunchtime if you want to be productive.
No wonder
in the
everyone gets tired
afternoon.
on Thanksgiving.
Right?
That makes so much sense.
This is actual science. The tryptophan in the turkey makes you sleepy, not good for productivity.
Oh my
Here
gosh.
I am.
That makes so much sense.
I was blaming the lettuce. I'm like, it's all the lettuce's fault.
Yeah. Of course it is. I mean, that's the best thing to do. Of course, lettuce is bad. No more lettuce.
Lettuce offends me. Okay. And so it was like the first, I'm like, it's you, lettuce. And then I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, crap, it was turkey. Crap. But like, I can really see that. Like if I have that, burn. So this week I'm like, no turkey. We're on the beef. And there's certain things I can really pinpoint now that if I have heavy carbs like pasta or anything, a good night. Like, do not ask me to proofread anything in the afternoon because I'm going to be like,
it's crazy how much food affects your body.
Yep, sugar. It might spike you, and it can cause hyperactivity, so you can't focus. You look like you're busy. You're running around like a hummingbird, but you ain't getting shit done.
Yeah.
Right?
Wow.
You got a million different things going on.
You look great.
Okay.
I mean,
shit.
you look like you're being productive, but your brain is like, help me. I'm done.
Yep. So firstly, analyzing that and just taking note. When did I feel great? When did I didn't feel like, when did I feel sleepy? When did I feel sluggish? When was my brain scattered all over the damn place? Like, what happens? Like, my client, I spoke to him the other day. I'm like, what's going on? He's like, oh, I had too many coffees. I'm like, oh no, we're not back there again, are we? I'm like, step away from the coffee. Step away. Well, he turns into cranky. He turns into cranky pants. I'm like, he just like gets all wired and he's snapping at the team. And I'm like, go to your office and don't talk to anybody until it wears off. Until
the coffee gets out of your system.
Yep. So being aware of those things and how your mood changes and your energy changes. And then also like paying attention to, so this is the one thing I say to people, when you find yourself procrastinating or not doing what you're meant to do, what is the permission you're giving yourself? Hear the words in your head, like, oh, but I really need to sweep the floor right now because there's hair on it, versus balance my QuickBooks. Like, the hair's still going to be there in 3 hours, or it can get done in the morning by the apprentice. You need to do the QuickBooks. Stop finding excuses. But you gave yourself permission.
Stop finding other tasks to fill your time.
You're like, oh, such and such didn't do that. And you're like justifying yourself to have to go do this easier task to avoid doing what you want to do. So hear the voices in your head. When you're in the middle of doing something, you're like, I'm just going to check Facebook, see if anyone's commented. Ooh. Like, realize you're chasing, like, oh, where does that come from? I'm seeking validation. Or I just want reinforcement that I'm loved, I'm feeling lonely. Or, do you know what I mean? Like, if you can start understanding what's driving the away from behavior, you can take control of it and go, actually, am I really lonely? What would be a better use of my time? Or, okay, I'll tell you what, self, if you do 20 minutes on this task, then you can check Facebook for 5 minutes. How about that? Okay, cool. And then you're not going to resent yourself afterwards, because no one ever opens up Instagram and scrolls and then after being in there for 30 minutes goes, that was a good use of my time. Glad I did that.
Yeah, you're just like, dang, I spent, or it turns into, I'm checked for 5 minutes. It turns into like 30 minutes, 45, an hour.
Yeah,
and you feel like you've wasted all that time.
$200 because you just bought all this activewear that you didn't need.
Yeah. That's a great Amazon ad. I just add that to my cart. Yeah. And it's funny because then it's a downward spiral.
Yeah. And then you're mad at yourself. And then because you're mad at yourself, you're not doing your correct work, and it just perpetuates. So really asking yourself, when you don't do what you said you wanted to do or what you're meant to do, what was the permission? Not the excuse. It's not about beating ourselves up. This is about understanding where we're at cause and putting ourselves back in the driver's seat. Where was I at cause? And what was the permission I gave myself? And what could I have done differently?
Wow. Wow, that's really good. So if you're listening and you're just like, that feels, I mean, I know it can feel like, oh, that's a lot to do, but if you make those simple steps and you don't have to like go from 0 to 100 today, you just make those like buy a journal, start somewhere, start with tracking your food, start with just thinking or even being present to your thoughts of like, what am I thinking right now? Yeah. Like I love what you just said about giving yourself permission. Like where are you giving yourself permission to do stuff, or where are you like giving excuses or letting yourself off the hook when you shouldn't be? It's like, we are masters of our own selves. We have more control than we think. And we're like, oh, but I just have to do this one thing. It's like, that's why, it's addictions are hard to crack and, all that stuff but we have more power over our brain. One of the things that I've been learning lately is to be very present with what I'm doing. And I get really overwhelmed by my to-do list. I'm like, there's so much to get done. Where do I begin? And having so much on my to-do list makes me not want to do anything because I don't know what to do first. And so I've been trying to time block my life and be like, okay, when I focus on this activity, if it's in my calendar for this 30 minutes, I will focus on this and I can't do anything else. And if a thought comes to my brain, I just write it down, be like, I'll deal with it later and get very present to do it now. And it's changed my personal life of like being more productive, and then more stuff gets done because I'm like, and then that 30 minutes is over. I'm like, okay, well now I can move to something else. And then if I didn't finish it, and then I'll put it back on my calendar to finish it later. But just give myself a routine and permission of like, okay, this is the time I give for this. I'm going to focus in. And when this is over, I'll be done with this task. So I love what you just said. That's amazing.
And a way to hack flow state is to give yourself a reward. So say, okay, I'm going to do this thing for the 30 minutes. But then I'm going to give myself 5 minutes to do this, or to have that, or to go for a walk outside, or to listen to a favorite song, or check Instagram. But then I'm back to it. And I'm like, it's that reward, stacking rewards, like is one of the great ways to help yourself stay focused.
Yeah. Because I added to like, there's 30 minutes in every day of my life, there's 30 minutes in my day where when that time comes, I get to do whatever I need to do. So sometimes it's work, sometimes it's go close my eyes in my car, sometimes it's go on a walk, but to be present of like, what do I need right now? And then make sure that I have a 30-minute intentional time that I'm showing up for exactly what I think I need that moment. If it's scrolling Instagram for 30 minutes, sometimes it's that, but they're just to have 30 minutes where I give myself permission to do whatever I want to do in that moment. And that's helped me as well.
Yeah, beautiful. Because it's not about controlling yourself completely. It's about taking control.
Yeah. And I love that it's like about owning that, because it's going to make you happier. It's going to make you more successful. It's going to make you just feel better. Like you can have all the success in the world, but if you're not happy with it, or you're not happy with yourself, or feel like you have any control over yourself, you're going to keep chasing the next thing, because you're not going to be able to be present and happy with where you're at right now, which is huge. Yeah. I love that. We're going to take a commercial break. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about productivity, how to really harness that, how to how to demonstrate productivity for your team and help your team be more productive, and how to fill in those gaps in the salon when they've got nothing to do. So stick around. We'll be right back.
We're Phorest, born on the salon floor and built for and by hair and beauty professionals like you. Phorest is your marketing, your reporting, your reputation management. You need one easy-to-use system that does it all. Phorest, together we grow.
Sustain Beauty Co. has two of the best tools to help you save water, time, and a bunch of money. Join the clean water salon movement with EcoHead's water-saving shampoo nozzles and scrummy plant-based microfiber towels. Available at sustainbeauty.co.
Are you tired of not knowing what your hair color is costing you? With Salon Scale, we take the guesswork out for you, so you can cover your back bar expenses, reduce your color waste, and generate more profit in your salon. Click the link in the description to get 10% off your first year.
Are you ready to increase your retention and revenue and convert website traffic to clients? Then you're ready for Maya. Maya creates better business relationships by pairing the right clients with the right beauty professionals. Use promo code HPSA for your first 2 months free. Visit joinmaya.com to get started.
Welcome back to the Profitable Salon Owner podcast. We're hanging out with Jade Green talking about productivity, and it has been very insightful even for myself. I know for me, I've been trying to master productivity for a while now, being a mom, being, an entrepreneur, having a full-time job, all these things. There's a lot to do, a lot to get done, and knowing how to be productive as a human being. And it's very like we talked about before, there's a universal way to be productive, but there's also a very individualized way you go about it, because we are each individuals. And so what works for me may not work for you, may not work for this other person. So if you missed the first half, go re-listen, because it was golden. I would love to start talking about, because I know, owners are listening. They're like, yeah, but my team's not productive. Like, yeah, I'm going to do these things, but my team doesn't know how to be productive. They're not like And I know a lot of salon owners, you hear it a lot where they're just like constantly hounding their team and on their team, and they complain about their team because we can't control others. So how do we, as salon owners and business owners, how do we start to influence our team or create that culture of productivity?
They're not going to like this.
Buckle up, people. It's gonna be okay.
Buckle up. It's gonna be a bumpy ride, but strap yourself in. We're
Here's
gonna
my
get
virtual
there.
hands. I got your hand. Okay, we're ready.
We got you.
Yeah, we got you.
So 99% of the time, you are the problem.
Oh,
Yeah. So you are not modeling the behavior that you wish to see. You are doing the old mum and dad trick of do as I say, not as I do.
Classic. As a mom, classic.
Yeah. One of my keynotes says culture is caught, not taught. It's not about how many words you've got on the wall or your values or what you told them in induction or what you tell them every week. They catch what you put out. So you have to be modeling it. You have to demonstrate it. When you can talk from an authentic place of how you are productive and what works for you that can work for them, rather than just grinding it out and working all of the hours in the day. Because often as owners, right, we can, we get the shit done, but we might be working 18 hours a day. That is not, no, you don't want to pay them 18 hours a day, right? So
they're the first to burn themselves out.
Yeah. So you need to look at, firstly, how do you make yourself productive and visibly productive when you're in front of them, right? Yeah. So work on that first. Be able to share with them, like, okay, what I found was I would lean into, like, vulnerability is the key, right? We want to be able to own it for ourselves, own like what we do, because when they can see that it's real for you, it's real for them. And then it's not like because a lot of our employees go, yeah, but you're special. Like you're the business owner. The entrepreneurs are like these special friggin' superhumans and operate different to me. You need to bridge the gap. That you need to find the common ground and show them you're just a human that put on your pants the same way as well, right? So then when the gap is bridged, it's easier for them to step into it. So I always, like with my group coaching clients, I do an ideal week planner for myself. Everything is time blocked. Everything is color coded by the energy I need to be in, those focus sessions. Everything is there. And every Sunday I send a screenshot of mine to my group as well, so they can see that I'm living mine. And I will share with them when we go through reflection, what worked, what didn't work, and what was the permissions. I will share with them the permission I gave myself was X. I was busy being busy. I over-delivered for my client because I was in avoidance, because I was scared of rejection and putting out this new proposal. So I left that to the last minute and allowed myself the permission to help somebody else out of avoidance. Crap. And then they can go, oh, crap, I do that too. Or they're willing to openly share because now I've shared.
Vulnerability meets vulnerability.
Yeah. Otherwise, if you seem too perfect, they feel like they're going to be judged and it's not safe. You've got to create the psychological safety for them to be actually able to share, rather than going, oh, that's just lazy. Like if you look at them with that face, then they're not going to share the truth and you're not going to be able to coach them. So the first thing is you need to show up and model the behavior you want them to have. You need to be able to share from your own experience and help them see the gap. And you need to be able to open up feedback loops. So if you don't have you need to have psychological safety where everyone feels safe to be able to show up and not be judged as a human, like judged on give them feedback on the task, not on who they are as a person, and creating a culture of feedback on yourself, on what were you thinking at that moment? How did you feel? But then being able to talk about things and go, hey, I saw the other day, like your client didn't show up and we had this gap and, your station was a bit of a disaster because you were super busy the day before. Get that. But rather than getting to it and cleaning it up so that we had the workspace that we like, because we always want to have a beautiful salon. When people walk in, it looks neat and tidy and it's delicious. It looked like you were just kind of literally pushing the broom around the shop. Or it looked like you were on your phone. Can I ask, what was it that made you not want to clean up your station? And give them, like, was it you were overwhelmed because there was just so much stuff there? Is it like, what was what was the friction for you? And then just let them talk. And they're like, oh yeah, like, well, I really hate this. I don't like how my hairdryer hangs there. I'm left-handed and the bloody things are all on the right-hand side. And so you resent the system because of X. Okay, what can we do about that? Or do you know what I mean? Like, you don't understand what's happening in someone's head until, like, I'm OCD, and if it can't be done perfect, I don't want to do it at all. And I didn't think I had time to do it perfect, so I just left it. Okay, how can I support you in that?
Yeah. I feel like that's incredible, because not a lot of people do that. Not a lot of people, like, that's not common. You don't see that very often.
No. If you really want to revolutionize your business, feedback is the key. Self-feedback for self-awareness and honesty and truth, and creating feedback loops with your team and being able to share openly. Like, okay, when you did that, it made me feel like this. Or, you know, when you show up late, the story I'm telling myself, I lean on Brené Brown for that. The story I'm telling myself is, you actually don't care about this business. You don't care about your job because you don't care about putting out the rest of your team members who have to pick up your slack. You don't care about our reputation because a customer's sitting there, like, and they're in a rush, and you just don't care. I'm sure that's not the case. Can you help share with me what is really happening when you're consistently late?
Yeah. I love that, because I think that, like you said, like, what story are you telling yourself, and realizing, we talk a lot about realizing that your staff and your team has lives too. They have things going wrong in their life, whether they're mothers or in college or at school or whatever is happening. They have a life and a story of their own of what makes them. And half the time they're not even aware of it. They just are acting and behaving, and then they get in trouble, or, you know, you come at them really harshly and they're just really struggling with something else that has nothing to do with you. And so I love that opening, and, like you talked about before, bridging that gap of, like, between you are this, like, salon owner, high and mighty, like, you know, you have to hold yourself in this high regard, or you can get very vulnerable and very human and be like, yeah, I struggle too. Be like, sometimes I am running late and things like that. Like, what happened this morning? How can I support you? Like, in opening that conversation to be like, I care. Like, I don't want you to be late, but I care why you were. So let's talk about why, because then people are going to connect with that more, and they're going to appreciate it. And then that's how you fix those problems.
Yeah. And the thing is, most people haven't thought through the consequence. They just thought that, you know, they're late, maybe they're going to get in trouble. They haven't thought about the client who's sitting in the chair, who's stressing out because they've got to get to a meeting, and every minute you're late is making them late. And they haven't thought about how that feels for them. They haven't thought about what it means if the team has to pick up the slack, right? So by sharing the why, like why it's important for you to be on time, like, it's not just because I'm punching the clock and I'm paying you by the hour, because a lot of people will go with, I pay you for a full hour, I expect you to be here for a full hour.
Yeah.
Whereas, which is a very different conversation to, hey, when you're 10 minutes late, we've got a client and they're running late, and it puts stress on them, and then they're having a bad experience, and, you know, the energy's off, and then that creates tension, or, you know, we have to get someone else to jump in and start the process, and that puts them out, and then they're kind of feeling resentful, and now we've got a whole energy in the team, and, you know, it really has this ripple effect and this knock on. So it's not about just I pay you for the hour. It's actually because I really care about our brand with our customers and our team harmony. What can I do to support you to be here on time?
I love that. Because it voices, as a salon owner, you feel like you get to voice the problem, or not the problem, but like the problem that occurred because that person was late. So it's like, hey, this is what happened. And then you follow it with, so how can I support you? Like, then now let me understand why, because this created this, so that you feel like you can voice to them what the problem it created. And then you hold space to be like, so why did it happen?
Yeah.
That's huge.
So I had someone that just constantly late. And I'm like, just walk me through what's happening. Turns out they've got OCD, right? I just can't leave the house if the kids' beds aren't made and things aren't perfect. Why? Well, what if I die dropping the kids off at school and someone goes into my house and it's a mess? I'm like, who cares? You're dead. Like, and they're like, oh, true. I'm like, okay, what else can we do then? Like, what's the knock on? The kids are getting late to school. Then there's a problem. Okay, let's backtrack. Let's set a new deadline. Let's start with, what time do you now need to get the kids at school? Then we start, okay, let's backtrack from that. Okay, your kids are 10 and 12. What could they do to start helping you? They could start making the bed. Okay, let's work through it. don't assume that people are going to think through that, because if they're in an overwhelmed state, their ability to problem solve might have gone out the window, right?
Yeah.
But help them backtrack.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So what time do we really need to get you out of the door to get the kids to school on time to make sure you've got time to get here? Okay, so don't think about your 9 a.m. start with us. Start at your 8:20 drop off with the kids. Because if we hit that deadline, we hit the next one.
Yeah. I like that, because then you're breaking it down for like what's workable for them. Like, again, taking those small steps. If you look at you need to be here, go backwards and be like, okay, what is happening in your life that's making this occur? And then how do you make those small little steps that can just push you towards the desired outcome, which is being at work on time. I know this is like speaking to me, because on the days that I have my son, that's me. It's like, okay, I got to leave the house by 7 a.m. in order to get my son all the way to school to get to work on time. Mm-hmm. And I really, really struggle. I even tried waking up, but then things go wrong. And I'm just like, and I have the permission I give myself is like, well, I can't control the mood my son is in the morning, whether he lets me get ready for work or he has a rough morning.
Yeah.
And so I've just given permission. So I don't put in boundaries or think about anything else. I'm like, well, it's up to my son. Whether I'm going to be late or not, it depends on how he wakes up. And so this is honestly even speaking to me to be like, well, is that really what's workable? What changes can I start to make sure that's not what's happening?
Yeah. So, and sometimes though it is too tight a home frame, right? So we had another staff member that found out that they have to do the school drop off, but the time between school drop off is if there's one car crash, one no parking space, one tantrum, it's just impossible. And so we just changed their shift.
To just like, sometimes that what works better.
We're just like, okay, we just don't put them on the first start. We move their shift. We don't put them on, I wouldn't put them on first client of the day, because, the chances that the car park's going to be available, the kid's not going to chuck a tantrum, there's not going to be a car accident, and all of these things to make it so they can run in the door flat on time. Miracles. Yeah. Help them out.
Yeah, that's huge. I love that. It's like, so you're a salon owner, and like even being open to the possibility that where you're asking your team members to be is not physically possible for them. And you're going to consistently fight. If you want them there at 9 and they're constantly late, then maybe it is. And understanding that then maybe what if they come work at 9:30, or what if it changes based on that? How can you support them to be like, hey, you really should get here on time. Why don't we just start your time at 9:30, but then still aim to be here at 9, and that way you have that buffer time or something like that.
Yeah,
I love that. That's huge.
Yeah, because owners get in a mindset of, well, this is the rules and they're the employee and they should do what they're told. Well, guess what? It's really hard to find good staff. Yeah. So I would start meeting them where they're at and seeing where you are just using your just ego and in the old school versus what's actually going to get the job done and make a more cohesive team and work with that.
Wow. This has been amazing. I always love the episode where I learned so much. Honestly, it's every episode. Mm-hmm. So hopefully if you were listening, you got something valuable out of today. If you're watching on YouTube, comment valuable. If you're in your car listening to the radio, like we always say, just shout it out. We hear you somewhere.
I'll feel it here.
Hopefully you got, we'll feel it. Yeah. We're still holding on. Oh, we'll let go of your hands now. we got through that.
Drive
now. So hopefully you got some value out of today, and just, productivity for yourself. You deserve to make the changes to feel more productive as a human being, because we live in a world where everybody is chaotic and everybody's fighting for something and have to be somewhere. We're aggressive on the road because we have to be somewhere. And so we start to cut corners and change lanes and like honestly put our lives in danger or add more stress to ourselves because we aren't doing the necessary things beforehand, before we even get to being late. What can you do to set in practices, wake up early, or just fuel your body with the right food? What small changes can you make today to be a more productive person? And then how do you model that for your staff? So if you're hanging out with us today, got some value, comment value, send us a message, say value. Would love to know. And Jade, thank you. Thank you for hanging out with us today.
Thank you, Kayla. I've absolutely loved this. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you're a blast to hang out with. And so hopefully you enjoyed an Australian accent. Maybe we'll have Jade on again so we can talk more about productivity or different things. So thank you for hanging out, and thank you for joining us on this episode of the Profitable Salon Owner Podcast. We'll see you next time.
Bye, guys.
You've been listening to the Profitable Salon Owner Podcast. Be sure to like, subscribe, leave us a review, and check us out at profitablesalon.com for more episodes, content, and to help you turn your salon into the business you've always dreamt of.